Hello, it's Melinda from Scrapbookingncraft. How you all going? Thank you so much for purchasing our graffiti page class. Sorry about the glare. Wondering if I can do anything about that. So this is the double page that we are going to construct in the class. Let me do... Oh, I'll do this and be easy to see. So it is a double page. This is our front page. We make a hole in our page. And this is the inside page. So you would have received your kit soon, or it's on its way, and let's just go through a few things that you'll need that's not included in your kit from your stash. So the first thing you'll need is some white gesso to prime your pages. I'll stick that there so it sticks, not the glare. So this one's a Kmart brand, but any white gesso will do. So we need that to prime our pages. Then to do some of our gluing, we need a matte gel. Ignore the word heavy, it's not really a heavy matte gel, just a matte gel medium. One that's quite sort of thick, like almost like margarine or whipped cream. This one says heavy, but it's not. It's another one quite reasonably from some of our cheapy shops around. Acrylic matte medium. So these are both matte mediums. One says gel, so it's thicker, and one says acrylic matte medium. You can hear, actually you might be able to see, I'll put it in a jar. See how liquidy this one is? This is what we need for our napkins. So the more liquidy, the better. This one's good for paper, the gel medium, because it's a bit thicker. We need the more liquidy one for the paper napkins. And you can hear, hopefully you can hear, that it's quite liquidy. Just because the paper napkins need something that is more liquidy when you stick them on. And those want to roll away. Then you'll need some paint. So we'll definitely need some black paint. You can use Dina Wakley. You can use whatever black paint. Black gesso would work. Then we need a combination of colours. Now, if you're trying to match colours at home, grab out your paper napkin with the tulips on it. I don't have a spare one at this stage. And match the colours to that. So we've matched the rouge, Dina Wakley rouge off that. And the piece of paper you've got in your kit as well with the buildings on it and the cars on it, I've matched the colours out of that too. So I've got Dina Wakley cheddar. Cheddar, started with C. We've got Delusions Vanilla Custard. Now, I mix up all my paints. It doesn't matter what brand they are. I go for colours. We need a buff or an off-white. You could make an off-white with white gesso and a tiny bit of black. You could almost go like a really light grey colour. Got all brands today. Distress Paint Crackling Campfire, like a reddy brown colour. This one is Sullivan's acrylic. This is like a light cream. Almost like this colour, but slightly different. Both would work. And then I also grabbed this one as well in my stash. This sort of colour, this sort of cheddary orangey colour. So feel free to mix up all your paints. You don't have to have exactly the same colours I've got. Just match them as closely as possible. Then we'll just need some rubber stamps. So we've got a script stamp. This one's like a number stamp. This one's a Kaisercraft one. It's really old. This one's a Primer old. Really, really old Primer one. Something like this would work also, just with a bit of script, a bit of grunge. Grungy numbers would work. Black ink pad, archival ink pad. And a few tools along the way. And I think then we are ready to get started. So let's get started and get our graffiti on. Okay, let's get started. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make our hole in our page. So this is our first double page. This is our second double page. I'm going to make a hole in this middle bit. Just going to put a cutting mat in because I'm going to make a slit with a craft knife in the middle. And then we're just going to tear it around. Just put that away. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, and don't freak out, we're going to tear into our journal. So I want to leave about that big. What's that? 2.5 inches around the border. Because basically we want the hole to be a little bigger than the person that we're going to put behind. So all I've done is once I've made my slit, I then go in and start tearing. I'm going to move my book around as I tear because it's a bit easier. Now always tear a bit smaller. You can always make your hole bigger, but it's a bit harder to put it back. when you're happy with your size hole, stop. So I want it to be about, let's just double check, let's grab one of our lady faces, and about perfect. I might just take a little bit more off here. There we go. Something like I want. Okay, let's start decorating. So we're going to start with some collage paper to start with. So this is from Collage Soup. So these 3 cutouts, the butterflies, the girls you just saw, and this one is all from Collage Soup from their free downloadable sampler pack. If you bought the kit, you've already got them printed. If not, I have also put them, just these 3 sheets, in the group for you to make it easier. So I'm just going to grab pieces, and this is where the colour scheme has come from that I've chosen. I've sort of picked up the pinks and the orangey yellows and the yellow. So basically I just want to put down chunks of colour on both of our double pages. So that sort of goes down here. I think my window needs to be a bit bigger actually. Yep, I want it to be bigger. That's a bit better. So we'll glue this down here eventually. We are going to just tear this chunk out, take the white bits off. The reason I like to tear it is because it sort of melds into your paper a lot easier, especially if it's background images. I do like to tear them. So I'm going to put that somewhere like over there maybe. Up to you, you can change your pieces around, put them wherever you like them. Might put some of this down here. I haven't used the, what is she called? I think at the minute, it's on the tip of my tongue. Lady Liberty, that's what she's called. Haven't used her on my page, but you can use her if you like. I thought it was a little American for my page, but... And then we've got the... Oh, I'm testing my knowledge now. Empire State Building. I thought I'd get eventually. And then I want sort of a bit of this building. More going for the chunks of colour than anything. Feel free to stick them in different spots. Feel free to follow along exactly. So basically, so here where my hand is going to be our quote. So we sort of want to keep that middle sort of section fairly plain. We're going to put paint on it. We're going to just put some stuff on the edge here. Just to add some colour, and then we're also going to put a little bit on the inside as well. So don't use all your pieces on the outside. So I'm going to keep this little bit for putting on the inside. So we've got a bit there, we've got a bit there, got a bit there, we've sort of got a bit there, something there and something there. Sounds good. Now we're going to glue these down with gel medium or matte medium. Gel medium is a bit more thicker consistency, so these are printed on, if you purchase the kit, they're printed on A4 copy paper, and that's what I suggest you print them on anyway in your art journal, so it's nice thin paper. So I prefer gel medium to stick them down with. You can use matte medium, but matte medium, it's just a bit thin. We'll use matte medium when it comes to the napkins. So just putting a thin layer on where my piece of paper is going to go, stick my bit of paper on, and a thin layer over the top. Reason I like doing it with a spatula, A, I don't have to clean a paintbrush, and B, you can do it really smooth and you can do it really flat. I usually get it on the back of the spatula. The reason I'm putting it over the top is it creates a barrier on top of the paper, and then we're able to put paint and stuff on the top, and then your paper has a barrier on top of it, so it's not so porous. So this gel medium dries clear, so if you get outside where your paper is going to go, you won't notice it. This is all going to be covered with paint very, very soon. So we need some more. So gel medium comes in quite a variety of brands, so just find a brand that you like and it's easily accessible to you. I'm trying to use up bits and pieces that I have at the moment. So I have all sorts of brands of things. Actually, I think I need something under my book because this is quite uneven. Let's pull out some. I'm at the front of my book, so this side feels like it's on a seesaw. I'm just going to go over my piece of paper and make sure that there's no big blobs of gel medium. Doing it with this spatula, gel medium dry quite quickly, but we'll give it a bit of a buzz to dry it. Just going to pause the video and dry that off, and then we'll move on, stick our paper onto the other side. So it's all dry. I'm just going to put a bit of baking paper between my pages, so in case there's a little bit of stickiness, I won't glue my pages together. I'm about to have an avalanche of everything off my desk, which is nothing unusual. So on the inside page, we're going to use some of our scraps. Just going to pull that bit off and put sort of here. Trying not to put too much in the spine, but I do want to overlap it a bit. I'll sort of throw some cards down here. So here, where my hand is going to be our napkin mainly, so you don't want to stick stuff here. We're also going to have our napkin over here where my hand is, so you sort of try to fill in this area, maybe a bit up here. Maybe stick something up there. Got a little bit of card to go, so instead of throwing that out, we will find somewhere to stick that. We might stick that just over here. So it's mainly for colour. And again, I haven't used my Statue of Liberty, but you can certainly use that if you would like to. Feel free to change any of this around to suit your page. This is your project to keep, so you can change it however you like. So again, just a thin layer underneath. So just giving a good press in the spatula, especially in the spine. Just wanted to make sure it's got nice coverage. You don't need much of the gel medium. You don't need a thick layer. Gel medium's like a glue, or it is a glue, so you don't need much at all. I'm going to stick that there. Just using the back of the plastic spatula. I like the plastic spatulas because they're nice and flexible. And you can also get a nice smooth layer. I think I've said that before. Sorry if I repeat myself again. Okay. And the advantage of the spatula, anything you've got left on the back can be scraped into your pot again. Just watch when you scrape it back into your pot that you don't have big chunks on the lip, because you'll stick your lid together with your base. Then you won't be able to use it again. And I'll just wipe that off with a baby wipe somewhere. I'll grab one in a minute. It's going to dry that off. So once that's dried off, we'll come back with our next step. Moving my bit of baking paper to the other page. So we're going back to our front page. And we're going to grab our paper napkins. So if you want to grab your tulip and your building one, I'm going to use that one in a minute. And in your pack you should have a wood grain of some description. A few of you have got a few different wood grains. So you've got something like this, or you might have a darker one. Doesn't matter which one you got, it will work. So I'm just going to cut this napkin into... Cut this napkin... Nearly had an avalanche off my desk. Just cut this napkin into a single panel, because they come in 4 panels. We're basically wanting the wood grain, so you can save the words for later, or use the words. We are creating a graffiti type page. So if you feel free to use the words, a lot of this is going to be covered up anyway. So I'm just cutting one panel from the 4 panel of napkin on the wood grain one. Don't cut your tulip one yet. I'm going to show you how to specially cut that one in a second. Then we just need to remove the white backing off the napkin. And I'm just going to reach up and grab a little bit of sticky tape. So a really good trick is grab a piece of just sticky tape. Doesn't matter if it's washi tape or white sticky tape. Clear sticky tape. It's not really what you want to do. So put put your sticky tape on your napkin, and then you're able to peel off the layers. Now, some napkins have 2 layers, some have 3. I'm just going to check. We're going to rip this napkin anyway, so it doesn't matter that I just ripped it. We're just going to check with another sticky tape if this has got a 3rd layer on it. So you're always sticking the sticky tape to the white layer, and then you are peeling it off from the clear layer. And that one only had one layer of white and then 1 layer of the printed. So just going to tear this up into some pieces. You'll find it tears one way a bit easier than the other, but we just want some chunks. Yeah, that way it's not tearing so well. So again, we just want to put some chunks on our page. You can overlap some of your printed paper. It's just to add a bit more texture, and a lot of this does get covered up. So just where you think it needs a something. I'm going to connect all this with paint in a minute anyway. So if I've got a big straight edge, I'll sort of pick at it and make it not so straight, so it fades into the paper a bit more. If you've got a straight edge on a straight edge of your book, I wouldn't matter, but you can sort of tear it a little. This is all background pieces, so it doesn't matter how you tear it. Now we are going to glue the paper napkins, whether it be this wood grain or the tulip building napkin, on with matte medium. So you can see this is quite liquidy, the matte medium. So this is Montmark matte medium. So matte medium is more of a liquid. Gel medium is more of a gel. So gel medium is more for thicker papers, like our photocopy paper. Definitely running matte medium for your thinner papers. I was going to say I put a paintbrush somewhere. So I've just put mine in a jar because it was only a little bit left in the bottle. So instead of having a big bottle on my container. So again, exactly the same way we used the gel medium, we're going to put some matte medium. If you don't have matte medium, you could water down some Mod Podge or water down some PVA glue. It's just those two will have a little bit of a shine when you're finished. So you're going to put some matte medium on your page where you want your napkin to go. Gently lay your napkin over the top. Now once your napkins hit the wetness of the glue, don't attempt to move it because you will rip it. On this background piece, it's not that important if it rips, but when we glue our next napkin on, you sort of want it to not tear. When you're going over the top, make sure your brush is well loaded with matte medium and work from the center out. And you're not wanting to go over and over the same spot multiple times. You sort of want to go over the one spot once or twice, because otherwise you'll tear the napkin. Clear as mud, right? So the napkins are quite translucent, and if you layer them over the pattern papers, you won't really see where the pattern paper finishes and the napkin starts, which is really cool. So just bear that in mind when you're using napkins. Napkins are translucent. So if you stick them on a darker background, they will pick up that darker colour. If you stick them on a light background, they'll have a lighter background colour. So when you're happy with where your napkin has gone, again, it's just adding another texture in the background. So we're sort of creating a grungy graffiti look, so the wood grain sort of suited that. I'm going to put another strip down here because I just feel it needs something. I'm just going to overlap it on that tail. Just wants to do a thing of its own. So you just want to make sure you don't have big blobs of the matte medium, and again, this will dry very quickly. I prefer a paintbrush with a matte medium because it can be a lot softer. I find the spatula sometimes is a bit rougher with it. Just put the lid on that. We're going to give that a quick dry, and then we will be right back, and we're going to do our building and our tulip napkin. I've lost my mouse thing. Where is it? Okay, we're going to almost dry. Going to change our baking paper and work on the back part of our page. So we're sort of working on the pages together. going to grab my cutting mat and do it on top of that. So we want to remove the white backing from this gorgeous napkin first. So I'm just going to reach up and grab a piece of sticky tape. I've got sticky tape sitting up above my desk. So again, we're going to put it on the white side of the napkin and then peel off from the front. This one when you want to be a bit more careful because we do not want to rip it until we want to rip it. Come on. Why are you being stubborn over here? Come on. So you can keep the white backings of the napkins, you can stamp on them, you can just add them as texture. I've got that many of them, so they go in the bin. Now, we are going to split this napkin. So the idea of this one is this part of the building where my hand is will go on this part of the page. This part of the tulips will go on this part of the page. So the best way to sort of cut out napkins like this and make it meld into your page is actually what we call water cutting. So that's when you get a fairly fine paintbrush, dip it in some water, and what we're going to do is we're going to come in and around these buildings. You can see here just above my finger it's getting wet. So when the napkin gets damp like this, it gets very, very fragile, so be careful. So what I tend to do is put a little bit of water like that and then hold the bit of the napkin that I want to keep with that's my left hand, and then pull away with my right hand, and see how it's pulling away where you've put that water down. So we want to, this bit here, see this dark arch here, we want to sort of water cut down there just before that bow starts. So I just want to come in here. I probably water cut sort of twice, like reload your brush twice with water and then gently separate that. If you put too much water, your napkin will just get too fragile. So you don't want to absolutely gush it. And then this one is tearing quite nicely there. So this is our bit of our building for over there. Let's work on that a bit more. So because our building is going to go on the edge of our page, I don't need to rough up the edge or down here. So it blends into the background. So when I glue this on, I'm going to make sure I've got a little bit of white on the bottom of the napkin. I'm going to make sure that just hangs off the page. It hangs off the page slightly that side, and then I'm going to cut up. So that's going to go about there. Actually, don't need to do anything else to our building. Now, these tulips are going to go sort of over here. So again, we might have to do some surgery on our tulips and cut one off and stick it in a different spot, depending on how big your hole is on your page. We'll see. We'll see what happens. So this is a great way to isolate like more focal points on your napkins. If it's just background, I just tear it. If it's in the background, if it's more of a focal image like these are, I will take the time to do this water technique, which is a bit more time consuming. Okay, so I want my tulips to go sort of there. So I have to come in. So I'm just positioning it. It looks like, so this tulip is sort of going to sit down here. This tulip's going to hang off. This is the one I'm going to have to cut and stick somewhere else. Just having a look. We're going to we might position it. Probably going to position it like this. So this and this tulip is obviously off the edge. We are going to stick those back on a minute. So what I want to do is I want to come in here, around this tulip, around this leaf, take this bit of excessness off over here. If you do put too much water on it, just give your napkin a bit of a heat dry with the heat tool and then wet it again with a little less water. Actually, I think I want to go down there because I think I've got to take that tulip off as well. If you do cut a tulip off and you decide you want to stick it back on, you can easily glue it on top of each other. glue it back together. Okay, let's have a look at what we got. Where we're going. So basically your tulips are going to go on this left hand side in some description, depending how big your hole is. I'm going to take a bit of this off. And we're going to bring paint up into these napkins anyway, so if you don't have to cover the entire page with napkin. So I've got a bit of page hanging around here. I don't mind that. Okay, so that's going to go about there. Let's cut these other two little tulips out and they'll go up the page. So any part of the white napkin when you glue it on will go translucent. You'll sort of see a tiny bit of it, but unless you get really close to your book, you're really not going to notice it. So take as much white off, but you don't have to be that precise. That's the word I was looking for. Another tulip there. This bit I probably wouldn't keep, there's not much there. Okay, now the fun begins, gluing it down. So we're going to go back in with our, I'll find our paintbrush. Got bits of napkin all over my desk. So I'm going to glue down the tulips first because that's on this side. So these two loose ones we're going to wait until I've decided where I'm going to put this. I don't want that to come down a bit more. Actually, I think I want that to come down a bit more. I'll cut this bit off. And then I'm just going to reposition it. This is great where you can reposition things when they're not going to quite sit where you want them to. You can just chop them up. And then I'm just going to hide that bit. Probably next to there. And I'll bring paint in and make it all look pretty. Okay. So, same as we glued our... What did we glue down? We glued our wood grain napkin down. So when we're doing the smaller pieces, I tend to go all over with the matte medium. When I do the bigger pieces, I'll do it in sections. So I'll do this sort of bottom section and position our napkin where we want it. And just remember, once it's hit the wet glue, don't move it. And then going from the centre out. So this napkin has a bit more texture. You'll notice this napkin has texture all over it as opposed to just on the edges of other napkins. And we're going to pull that off when it's... We're going to pull that off. Okay, I'm going to fix that up when it's dry. Now we're going to add these two other tulips. And I sort of want to... We'll add that there so it looks like it's connected. And then... we can add this one here, and again I sort of want to just have it, let's have it growing out of the hole. It's hard to stick in the hole, so we'll go up a bit higher. There we go. No right and wrong way to put them, just where you think they look like they should be. Now we'll do the building. Sorry, I thought I knocked the water over. No, I didn't. So the building I'll definitely do in stages, so I'll do the bottom first. I'm going to take it up and over my pattern paper. I'm going to line it up hanging slightly over my page and slightly over the edge, because then I'll just trim it off. And I'm just going to go over the top. Just going to peel it up. And so bigger pieces of napkins I like to sort of lay down and do in sections, because if you try and glue it all at once, or place it all at once, you get in a pickle, and it doesn't quite work. So with napkins, because they're so fragile, this glue needs to be quite runny to soak through the layer of the napkin and then soak down onto your page as well. And putting the barrier on top of the napkin means it gives it a waterproof layer, so then when you go to do your paint or stenciling or inking, if you make an oopsie, you can wipe it off. So that means the paint or that sits on top of the matte medium, it doesn't soak into your napkin. When you're happy, give that all good dry, and then we'll be back for the next step, which is painting. So my napkins are dry, so don't attempt to trim off or tear off your overhanging napkin until it's completely dry, because if you're trying to tear it when it's wet, you're just going to make a nicky mess. So I've just torn off, so my hand wasn't in the way, that, and if it tears like this, it adds to the distressed effect. Oh, I can put a bit of paint down there. I could have got some scissors and trimmed it off, but that's okay. So over here, you should be able to just, when the napkins are dry, just peel off or cut off. Sometimes they're a bit glued with the gel medium or the matte medium and they don't want to come off. And you just want to tape it back to where your torn edge is. This one is being rather stubborn, so we might have to get the scissors out for this side. And we've got a bit of napkin there. Where'd that bit go? Oh, there it is. We have little bits of napkin running all over the place. That's okay. So we are at this stage now. Still feeling a little cold, so I think it's still a little wet. Oh, I missed a bit down here. Turn that bit off. We'll give it a good dry, and then we will get our paints out and start filling in all the white bits we've got remaining. It's starting to come together. So now all of our napkins is completely dry, and we have the fun part of bringing it all together with paint. So I will go through the paints that I've used. Oops, sorry about that. So basically where I picked my paint colours from, I was looking at this pattern paper, and this pink here looked a bit like Dina Wakley Rouge. There was a lot of burnt orangey brown in it, so Distress Paint Crackling Campfire seemed to match that. I also bought a bit of neutral into it, Vanilla Custard Delusions. What else did I grab? Sedona, Dina Wakley. I wanted a creamy colour, so this was the only creamy colour I had, which is Sullivan's. So I mix all my paint designs up. We need black paint, so I've grabbed Dina Wakley black paint. Black gesso would also work. And a buff colour for the inside, or a light grey colour. Also got this one if this one is running out. It's very similar. It's like an orangey yellow. So what I tend to do is like to work with my sort of darkest colours first. So let's go with Crackling Campfire. Basically what we're going to do is start filling in all the gaps on our page and going up and over our napkins and pattern paper to bring it all together, because at the moment it looks a bit disjointed, so we're going to try to bring it all together. So this does go through an ugly stage, but we will get there. So what all you're going to do is you're going to pick some spots to start blending your paint in. You can do it with your finger, you can do it with a paintbrush. So when I'm blending, I like to go up and over the paper so that there really isn't paper stop paint. So you sort of want to start blending it in so it looks all sort of seamless. There's quite a few layers to come over the top of this, so don't be worried if this looks a bit not so good. It goes through an ugly stage and then it comes out the other side, I promise you that. So just working in a few spots, coming up and over your papers. Sort of do it in sort of an odd number of spots, 3 to 5 spots. Got 4, put some down here. So it's just a matter of fact of, this is a graffiti page, so if it's a bit scratchy, it's a bit not so even paint, if there's a bit of white showing, doesn't matter. So this is like a sort of a base coat. We'll just bring a bit over here. So I'll finish with that colour. And I'm sort of just going to get all the paint out of my paintbrush on my page. I'm not going to bother about washing my paintbrush till I get to the lighter colours. So now this is the Dina Wakley Rouge. Just going to put a bit on my page where I think it wants to be and just spread it out. So come up and over the napkins and work it in together. Actually, I should have another piece of baking paper behind my page so I don't slop paint everywhere, but we don't have one at the moment, so we're just going to go with it. See how I'm bringing it up into the edge of the orange paint, so blending the paints in. So I'm not actually letting this paint sort of dry. We're putting a nice thin layer on, so they are drying quite quickly. But you don't necessarily need to let the paints dry if they're colours that all play nice together. So just think of that colour wheel. So if they were like a red and a green that would make brown, obviously dry them in between, but you don't necessarily need to. With colours that are called analogous colours, I can never pronounce that word. Basically they sit next to each other on the colour wheel, and they're not opposites. So these are all in sort of the red pink family. They'll play nice together. What are we going to go with now? We're going with some bit lighter yellow maybe. Just throw a bit of this on our page. So I've got a bit of the pink and the yellow mixing in the brush, mixing another colour, but that's okay. Whoops, it's probably a bit too much paint now. None comes out and then too much comes out. That's always the way. That's right, we can just pick it up and put it back in the pot. I'm just going to bring this down here. So basically your entire page will be covered with paint or paper. So if there's little bits of white showing, that's okay. You can have little bits of white showing through if you want. It's up to you. See how I'm taking it right up and over the paper as well? So it's all sort of seamlessly looking like it goes together. I don't mind that my yellowy colour is getting a bit of orange in it. So you just paint till you're happy, till you're finished. I might put a bit more pink up here. So don't hesitate to go back to one of your first colours if you go, oh, I think it needs something. It needs something up here, so let's go back with a bit of the pink colour. So as you can see, I'm working quite fast and I'm not being precise, because it is sort of a graffiti, scratchy, messy page. See how that's sort of coming together. Remembering we're going to have a big white saying here, so we're going to keep that quite light in the background where I've stuck the napkin. I'm finding a few of these edges aren't blending in as much as I'd like them to. They're still standing out a bit, so I'm going to grab a bit of, this is the vanilla custard one. Grab this with my finger and see if I can't make a couple of these. Grab it out with the brush. Some of my paints are getting very dry, very empty. So I like doing this a bit more with my finger because you can get a smoother edge. See how that edge of the paper is sort of disappearing? So doing it with your finger, you can get a really small amount of paint on your page. So just trying to get a few of those harsh edges just softened off a bit. It's not going to dip the paintbrush in. I just don't dip my paintbrush in too far and gunk it all up with paint. So we're just doing a really thin layer. See how that's sort of getting rid of the harsh edges? You can sort of keep working at it till you're happy with how they're going. We've got a few more layers of stuff to put on top of this, so don't get too stuck in each layer. When you're happy, stop. I think I'm stopping. Yep, paintbrush down. Stop, walk away. So we want to give that a quick little heat dry. Paint all over my fingers now. So once that is dry, we are going to grab our black paint and start our grungy effect. So I like to do our grungy effect with a spatula. So I'm going to grab my black paint and I'm just going to put it on my... Oops, that's a bit too much. It's alright, we're going to use black paint for some sponging effect in a minute with a stencil as well. So what I'm going to do is put the back of my spatula into my paint and sort of just dab it off a bit because I don't want a lot on my spatula. And then I'm just going to sort of scrape it across the page in sort of a graffiti action. So the spatula is flat to the page and I'm just sort of smushing it around. Again, stop when you're happy. So it will pick up the texture of the napkin and the paper as well, which is good. It's going to pick up the texture of the bit of tape I put down the middle of my book, but that's okay. So we're just going over with some black paint. The reason I like to do it with the spatula, whoops, if you get too much, sort of just scratch into it and make it look graffiti-like, then opposed to a brush, because a brush will give you a lot more controlled look, and you're just looking for, I don't know, just blobs of paint, graffiti style. When you're happy, stop. So you can go from all different directions. I can go acrossways, I can go up and down, I can scratch into these big bits, which looks really cool with the edge of the spatula. Just making it look really, really grungy. It's the whole point of this page is grunge. Try not to get too much grunge right in the middle because that's where a quote's going to go, but I can always lighten it up or do something with it if I feel that I have... Whoops, I didn't really want to do that. You don't want a lot on your back of your spatula because that happens, but I need a little bit more over here. You can turn your spatula on the side and do some sort of line things. Knowing when to stop is also fun. Okay, I think I'm going to stop there. So I'm going to clean up my spatula. Or palette knife, I think it's called. One of the two. I think it has the two different names. So I'm going to leave me black paint for a minute. I'm going to grab a makeup sponge. And we're going to do some stenciling on this page as well. I thought my makeup sponges were in arm's reach. They're a little bit out of arm's reach. So I just like to use cheap makeup sponges from Kmart or Daiso, sometimes I get them from, or a $2 shop. Just looking for one that's big enough. Then we are going to grab our Graffiti alphabet stencil that was in your kit. We're going to grab this one. And instead of doing the outside of the letters, we're going to sort of more do the inside. Let me just dry a couple of these bigger bits so I don't smudge them. Oh, that heat tool is not liking me anymore. It's dying. It's making all sorts of funny noises. So we're not going to actually... I don't actually want the alphabet used this time. So we're going to use like the inner shapes of the alphabet as graffiti look. So we're going to take our makeup sponge. We're going to put down our paint. And then we're going to tap it off. So that it looks like there's almost no paint in our sponge. But trust me, there is some in there. You don't want big blobs of paint. in your sponge. So reserving the middle because where our quote's going to go, we're just going to go and do some just the middle of the letters, doing up and down motion. See how it's just putting blobs of paint just where you think. I think that's where my quote's going to go. Oh, well, we're there now. See how it's just putting sort of abstract shapes as opposed to using the alphabet. So just adding it sort of here, there and everywhere. Where you think it needs it. There's a cool stencil. I was using this the other day as well. Bit into graffiti at the moment. We've got a few graffiti products in our range. So connecting it to the, see how that looks really cool, to the top of the page, the edge of the page. Just don't have it floating in the middle of nowhere. And stop when you think you've got enough. And we might put some down here and then I'll stop. So you're more looking for the abstract patterns than the actual letters. If you want to put letters on your page, put letters on your page. I think I am about done with that. Okay, so now we're just going to give that a quick wipe with a baby wipe. Usually I don't worry about cleaning out my stencils, but I just want to get the black paint off. If the black paint dried, that's cool. It won't hurt your stencil. I just thought I'll try to keep my stencils a little cleaner for a little bit longer, maybe. So baby wipe just gets most of it off. You can go and soak them or put them in a tub of water, but the paint will not affect the stencil, unless there's big chunks of it. Okay, so we're done with that stencil. So in your kit you have two other stencils. You have some brick stencils, you have an open brick, and you have, sorry, just trying to reach for it. So you have an open brick and you have like the brick mortar pattern. So we're going to use this one. You want to use the other one? Go for it. Okay, so now we're going to grab a black ink pad, which I had around before. Actually, let's give that a bit of a dry. Now, anywhere you think is a bit, needs a bit more texture or a bit more, looking for my blending brush, I thought I grabbed it. Of course I didn't grab it. Bear with me one moment. I'll pause the video and I'll be right back. Where can I put my mouse that's not going to get covered in paint? Found it. So I'm going to use this one. So where I think it needs a bit of something, I'm just going to put a bit of stenciling. Got a stencil with archival ink. Do you need to use archival? No. Any black ink will work. I just like archival because then if I put anything else on it that's water reactive, I know it's not going to move. So up here it's looking a bit plain. So this particular stencil with our blending brush, just go round and round and round. Light to start with. You can always go darker. See how it's just putting the lines of the brickwork in? It's not actually putting... So this one puts solid squares in. This one puts the lines in. So I just want to put some indication of brickworks here, there and everywhere where you think it needs it. Go up and over your black. Well, you won't really see it, but connect it to your black grungy work as well. Don't just have it floating in midair. So again, I haven't cleaned I'll think of it in a minute. Haven't cleaned the ink off this stencil. It's archival, it will stain, but it won't transfer to your next page. So I'm just using little parts of the stencil. Just anywhere I feel it needs, out of the way mouse, just needs a little bit more texture. And the black ink pad is not really black, it more goes on grey, so it's adding another texture in the page. Stop when you're happy. It's a theme of my art journal pages. Stop when you are happy with what you have on your page. See how it's coming together? Now, if you want to, you could take a script stamp or a number stamp. I use my script stamp all the time. Let's use a number stamp, because this is sort of a graffitied wall, if you think of it that way. We might pick up that black paint in a minute. Do I use black paint for anything else? Let me just flick the page on my example, because otherwise I can see myself getting... No, there's no black paint. Okay. Clean up that black paint in a minute, because I can see it going. So this is an old Acetate just number stamp. So I'm just going to sort of stamp bits of it. Again, just where you think you need a something something. It's very light. You might not pick it up on the camera. Stamping on the brickwork we did, just in bits. Just using a little bit of the stamp. Again, your page might not need it because it might be grungy enough. You might want to do it. So it's just adding another layer and another something something to the page. Okay. That's that black ink gone for a minute. Let's just give that a quick buzz with the heat tool. I think all that black paint is dry by now. So this part of the page is nearly done. The one last thing we've got to do is stick our quote on, which we will in a minute, and do a little bit of white outlining on some of these darker shapes. We'll do that last. We've got an acetate overlay to go on this page, but we want to flip this over and work on our inside page. And let's clean that paint up, because I can see what's going to happen. I can see I'm going to get a very big black mess if I leave that there. And we're not going to use black again, I don't think. Don't quote me on that, because we may. I'm not planning on using black anymore, let's put it that way. Oh, come on, baby wipes. Why can you never get one baby wipe out? I need a room. I need a bigger art space. All this stuff on my desk. Okay. So what I'm going to do is just protect that page when I flip this page over, because we don't want to put I'm going to fold that. Sorry about the crinkling. Fold that over. Now, we do exactly the same thing we did on that front page. We start off with some paint. This page I want to be less orange and less pink and more muted, sort of. So I will go with the same rouge colour, which was sort of in the napkin. I will go with the custard. I'll bring in the buff. And we may bring in a little bit of the yellow. We will see. So again, we're going to do the same thing, and we're going to do it with the brush. And I don't need a paper towel. Baby wipe to the rescue. Just want to dry off my paintbrush. So again, I'm going to start with our darkest colour. Why I start with my darkest colour? Because you can always put lighter colours over the top. You've got to start somewhere, I suppose. You can start light to darkest, or you can start You can start light to darkest or darkest to lightest. It really doesn't matter. I just usually start with my darkest colour. So again, just going near the bits of paper to tone them in. So I'm concentrating a bit of pink here because there's a lot of pink over here, so not a lot of pink's going to go over there. But we're just going to tone it in a bit. I don't mind that it's a bit scratchy, because we're going to bring out other colours into it in a minute. So let's go a bit of our custardy colour. So the front page is a bit brighter and a bit more intense than this page. This page is a bit more subtle in its colours. If you don't want to do it as subtle, you do you put what colours you want on it. So again, just starting off filling in the painted areas, trying to make those papers, to do a darker area down there. It's really hard with dark collage papers because, I'll put a bit of light down there actually, to get them to meld in. It's a bit easier to meld the lighter printed papers in than the darker ones. So I'm going to go in with a bit of buff going to squidge on our page there and pick it up from there. See how that's sort of going to hide again. I don't know, for some reason when I do it over the pattern papers, I like to use my finger. Don't know, it works better than a brush apparently. And just putting a bit down here. Coming up and over the napkin as well. It's nice to bring stuff up and over the napkin. Because you sort of want it all to meld together. You don't want to see napkin, then you don't want to see paint, and then you don't want to see paper. So you sort of want it to all sort of come together. Get a bit more of this buff out. I have to go paint shopping soon. All my paints are running out. Doing too much journaling. So just taking a bit of that white out. So going, don't be afraid to come up and over the napkin if you don't want the white to stand out. So there's no rules with this. Just do it till you're happy. So I'm going a bit in behind where the tulips are just to soften that white, because I don't really want the white. Come on. So I'm going in with a bit of buff just behind the tulips just to soften that white and make them stand out, not the white behind them, if that makes sense. So your napkins are sort of a guide. You can always bring your paint up and over them. There's a few more layers to go here. There's some stenciling, there's some stamping. We're going to have a big image here. So don't get hung up that it's looking a bit messy at the moment. It's coming together. I have to put this buff colour on my shopping list. I love these Dina Wakley paints because they're heavy body paints and they have nice coverage and they dry nice and matte too. Bring a little bit more in here. Come on. So if you've got too much of one colour, don't be afraid to come and put another colour over the top. Stop when you're happy. I think I'm getting happy with that. Okay, now before we finish with our paints, let's give that a little bit of a dry first. Sorry, just reaching for our people or our person. This is mostly dry. It needs a bit more in the middle. Oh, come on, heat tool. Okay, so before we get rid of our paints and clean up everything, we want to decide what lady girl we want to use. I've used this one, but feel free to use a different one. I use this one on the example, which is a photo you'll see at the front. You can basically use any of them. I'm going to use a different one on this one. So I put in all four, so I'm just going to cut her out in her rectangle, square or whatever she is. And what I was trying to create in the background, I was trying to create this sort of grungy, scruffy image. So that's sort of where the background sort of come from, trying to mimic that, if that makes sense. Okay, so you've got 3 girls to use on something else. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually tear around her border. And then I'm going to sit her on my page and see if she stands out. So this will depend purely on your taste of what you think your page needs, this next step. And I'm trying to get my white edges on all of my tearings out. You can cut yours straight if you want. You don't have to tear it. Sort of the torn look goes with the torn window we've got the other side. But you do you. If you like straight edges, you don't like torn stuff. I like torn stuff, then I'm about to cut it straight. Okay, now we're going to place our girl about here. We're going to check our window. Yep. Because remember, our piece of acetate is going to have, if I can find that. So our piece of acetate's going to sort of lay like this. So you sort of want your girl here. So, sorry, that glare is horrendous. If I do that. You want your girl sort of positioned here off centre, so then this is half over your window and then your girl's behind it. Clear as mud? Yep. So she's sort of going to be over here. Now, is she standing out as much as I'd like? No, she's sort of fading in a bit. So, I've put in your kits half a sheet of a bit thicker than white paper to make a mat for her. And to match it up, I think, personally on my page, I think she needs rouge behind her. The pink. Or I could go the orange just to be daring. Maybe we go Sedona. We didn't use that one though. Let's stick with the paint we used. Nope. I think it's going to be the pink. Okay. So all we want to do is cut this piece of paper slightly bigger than your person. So I don't have to be lazy and paint it all. So we're basically going to paint this scrap bit of paper. You might feel yours has enough contrast to stand out. Some people in classes have put black behind her, black and white border. I think I like it with the colour. So basically now I'm going to paint this piece of paper to stick behind her with one of my paint colours so it matches. If you've got a piece of cardstock in your stash that perfectly matches, use that. But if you don't, this is a good way of getting something that matches. So we only have to paint really about 1 inch on all 4 sides. We don't have to worry about going into the middle. And don't worry, I do have baking paper, so I'm not painting straight on top of my art journal page. And we just want to see if... Oh! I think I just put paint on her head. See if it's enough. Yep, perfect. Okay. I'm just going to make sure there's no big blobs of paint. Dry that off. So it's a good trick. If you don't have a matching colour to mat your photo or mat something, and you've used paint, just use your paint and paint a bit of paper. Okay, it's nice and dry. No, it's not, where I just stuck my finger. Just got to make sure this is dry so when I flip my page over I don't get other paint. Not that you'd probably notice it on my graffiti page. I'm going to flip that over again. Because I sort of want to have her in place. We're going to stick her down with some double-sided tape. Going to stick her on because I want to position her so I know how much colour and how much stuff to do on my page. So I just want to sort of sit her where she's going, and then I can have her balance with the rest of the colours and stuff I'm going to throw at the page. Okay, so I'm going to stick her in the middle. And then what I'm going to do is I want a white edge as well. So if you hold and tear towards you, you should be able to tear. It's a bit wonky, but it's going to work. I like the white because it's sort of adding another matte colour without adding another matte colour. So if you hold your page in your left hand and tear with your right hand, you'll get that white border. If you do it the other way, you'll get not a white border. Oops, mine's getting a bit interesting. I left it a bit short at the top. Oh well, we can do it. It's probably better when you're tearing it off like this, leave it a bit bigger because it's easier to tear a bit bigger place than a smaller place. Sorry, so there's something off my screen. So she's going to sit about there. Okay. Now we've got some stenciling and some stamping to go. So we're going to use this stencil, but we're going to do it in the reverse way. So I'm going to do some up here and do some down here. Just going to grab some more. I'm just grab the baby wipes. So you want to have a few baby wipes at the go. They don't want to be too wet. So we're going to do some reverse, backward stenciling. So basically with this stencil we'll just get the little lines happening. We could use the other stencil too, but we'll use this one because we can. Okay, so reverse stenciling, it only works on gessoed paper, matte medium on your paper, other paint. It does not work on raw paper. Keep that in mind. Only works with really lacy stencils that have big holes, little bits between the big holes. So what we're going to do is we're going to do it here because this is a bit, oh no, that's where she's going to go. We'll do it up here. So we're going to overlap it onto our building as well. So we're going to put some paint on. We're going to spread the paint where we want it. And then we're going to put our stencil down and we're actually going to wipe through the stencil and pick up the paint. So move your baby wipe, whoops, every time you do it. And when you pull it off, well, that didn't work really well because it was very light. Can we even see it? Oh, we can see it there. That didn't work very well, did it? Let's try that with a slightly darker colour. But I don't want to go too dark. Will it work with the cream? Yeah, orange. Actually, I want to be slightly darker. We might just do it with our blending tool. Change of plans. We're going to do it with this stencil and the blending tool. The reason it didn't work is because it was too close to this background colour. And I don't want to go a bit darker. I just want it to be subtle. So where to throw my ink pad? We can change our mind as we go and do things. So this will give us the same effect. That's why I threw the two stencils in your pack. That's probably a bit dark than I wanted, but I shouldn't press so hard, should I? I think I'm just doing it right where my person's going, but that's okay. So again, we're just adding little bits here and there. Just to, do it really light over here, just to bring in the brickwork. Again, put that person back. Where's she going to go? She's going to go like yay there. Do I need to do any more? So you can do the stenciling with paint or ink. It really doesn't matter. Whatever you feel your page needs. And of course, we're a woman, so we can change our mind as we're going along. Okay, now again, we are going to do some stamping. So you could do some script stamping. We might use the script stamp. So I've just got an old script stamp here. Make sure I've got it up the right way. It's an old, but very old favourite stamp of mine. So I'm just going to do a little bit. Again, not stamping like in the middle of places. Stamping and up and over already elements that are there. So stamping onto stenciling, stamping up and over onto the paper, stamping a second time or a third time without re-inking, just to grunge it up a bit and to give it a bit of a different look. On my example on the front page, I've used a number stamp. We might use a different number stamp. You could use any sort of texture stamps you like. So I've got this one from Darkroom Door, so something like this number might be good. Something like this one. They shouldn't be on top of each other. So I don't put these on a stamping block. I just whack it in the ink and then whack it on the page, which is this way. So again, just adding another bit of a texture, another bit of a Not really thinking where I'm doing it, just thinking, oh, it needs something there, I'll just put something there. Knowing when to stop is also fun. And bringing your stamping into your tulip napkin as well will help combine it and sort of make it cohesive to the page. That's the word we're looking for, cohesive. So if I just had stamping, for example, and these never go back, it's like a jigsaw puzzle. They never go back where they're supposed to. So if I had a bit of, sorry, dropped the stamp pad on the keyboard and it turned my camera off. Glad I caught that, otherwise I would have been sitting here talking to myself. Okay, so stop when you're happy. Let's get my mouse out of here. Stop when you're happy and when you like your page. I think I like that now. The other thing we've got is, again, optional if you want to use them, if you don't want to use them, is we have a couple of butterflies. So we're just going to quickly cut a couple of those out. I think I'm going to put one up there, maybe one here, maybe one over here somewhere. So I probably want, just trying to think, do I want the lighter ones or the darker ones this time? I think I want the darker ones. It's up to you what butterflies you choose. Just going to cut 3 roughly out. So these are from Collage Soup again, so the free downloads. They're just printed on photocopy paper, so they're nice and thin in your art journal. I am just going to cut them out, apologise if my head comes into frame, with a tiny bit of a white border, just so they stand out a bit from the page. And I'm just going roughly around the antennae. I might chop the antennae off in a minute. I'll have to see. Not being too fussy. But I do want a little bit of a white border. Do you have to leave a white border? No. If you want to cut them straight on the edge, go for it. I just found they just need a little bit of white border to break them from some of the busyness. Okay. So that can sort of go there. So I'm not being super fussy with my fussy cutting. You can be as fussy as you like. They're not that difficult to cut out, the butterflies. Oops. So we've got one maybe here, and one lucky last one maybe down here, maybe this one down here, and then this one maybe I need 2, or maybe he needs to come up here. Maybe she needs to come, maybe we do that and then we put this one over here. Cut this one out and see what it looks like. Again, you might have different positioning because you might find that you want to either cover up a little bit of stuff, something you don't like, or you feel that there's a bit of empty space that you want to stick something in. It's usually what I use for a guide to stick my focal images on, or accompanying focal images like these butterflies. Nearly done. I know, it's so much fun watching me cut out stuff. I apologise if my head is getting in the shot. Trying to keep it out. Okay, last corner. Done. Okay, now, actually, I think I might like it, maybe. Would you like this one over here? Maybe over here, maybe. Okay, I like that. I'm going to go with that. Now, what else do we need to do? what else do we need to do? I think we are at the gluing stage. So what I do is I just glue. I wonder if this glue's going to work. So when it's a top element, I like to just use a good craft standard glue. This is, what's this, all-purpose art glue from Couture Creations. As opposed to a gel medium, because I don't really want to put gel medium on the top of the image. I use gel medium more when it's a background image and it's going to be embedded into the page. When it is more of a top element, I like to stick them with like a glue. Does that make sense? It's probably way too much glue. Okay, stick her on there. And you want a good craft glue because you're gluing over the top of paint and over the top of paper, and napkin and gel medium. So like a glue stick, just like a Yoo-hoo glue stick, won't do the job. There we go. Just going to hold that down for a minute. And I think that is the inside page done. I'm just glancing over at my example. Actually, no, we've got one more thing to do. So let's do that before. So the last thing to do, let's put these paints out of the way and get these baby wipes out of my way. So the last thing I like to do is give my page a bit of a scruff with my paint, with my, what is that called? Ink pad, Melinda. Just trying to throw all my tools back in their boxes right near me. So I'm not got stuff all on my desk. So all I like to do is take my ink pad. Is it the best way to treat your ink pad? Probably not, but I do it all the time. Usually I have an older one, but I can't find it, so we'll just do with this one. And we're just going to basically, which way am I going to do this? Okay, I'm going to do this way. We're going to brush the edge of your page. So we're going to hold the ink pad about, I'm going to keep flipping my book around. We're going to hold the, do it this way. Hold the ink pad about 45-degree angle, and we're just going to brush it on the edge of the page. And if you get a few of these gruffy marks, that's okay. So I like to move my book every time I do it, because otherwise I get myself in a whole big pickle. And then I'm doing it the same way. Probably best to, do this with an older ink pad. I see some hairs coming off my ink pad, really. It's losing its hairs. As I said, probably not the best thing to do, but if you've got an old ink pad, so we're going to do that with this page as well. Just gives it an edge. Sometimes it's quite subtle and you can't see it. Sometimes it's a bit more pronounced. The flatter you hold your ink pad, the more pronounced it's going to be. If that makes sense. It's so hard to do it in a book. It'd be easy to do it on paper. Maybe I should start working on blank sheets of paper and not in my books. Okay. So that should be on all 4 sides now. Okay. Now this front page has had a chance to dry. You want to leave it a little, otherwise you're going to wreck your white gel pens or paint pens or whatever you're going to use on it next. I'm going to grab a jelly roll. You grab a paint pen, and all I'm going to do is where I think it's a bit black, I'm just going to go in and add a little bit of a sketchy white border around the shapes. Mainly, that didn't even work. Okay, it worked the first time. My gel pen's being a little, that's right, I want a scratchy look anyway. My gel pen's being a little annoying. Mainly around the bits that we stenciled. So if you find there's big dark blobs, you just want to sort of push back into the background a bit. You can just do a very quick scribbly border with a white gel pen or with a white paint pen. My gel pen sort of is a bit more subtle when it wants to work. It's being a interesting pen at the moment, but sometimes it will work brilliantly and sometimes it won't. I don't mind the sketchy look of the gel pen. So just sort of going over any spots you think are just too dark and bringing a little bit of whiteness to it. Don't have to be that precise. It's a graffiti page. The messier the better. If your gel pen starts and stops, that's cool. It adds to the effect. You deliberately did it that way, didn't you? See how it's just bringing a little bit of whiteness back into the page. You don't have to be, I'm not being real exact, I'm just being scribbly. If you want to go and scribble a bit in a big black area, like this down here, scratch and scribble a bit, why not? When you're happy, stop. I think I'm stopping. Okay. Last two things, we've got to grab our quote and stick on, and grab our acetate and stick on. Now, to stick our acetate on for this particular class, we are going to just stick it as a, what we call a tip-in or an insert. So I'm going to grab my big, thick packing tape. The thicker the clear plastic tape you have, the better. So if you do have packing tape at home that's like the inch thick, or an inch and a half thick, that would work really well. I'll just grab that and I'll be back. Okay, let's do our acetate first. So I have printed this acetate and I've got paint on it already. Really? How did it even get paint over there? That's right. I've got to chop and trim a bit of it down anyway. So I printed these acetates and they'll be available on the website. And I have a whole new range of acetate things coming out. I just don't know what those things are yet. So you can decide, there is a right and a wrong side. Usually the duller side is the printed side, and the more shiny side, I believe, is the back side or the back of it. Doesn't matter which way you do it. Have a look to see which way. It's basically a scribble or graffiti. I apologise about the glare. It's just going to do that because it's plastic. So I want mine to go this way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to line it up in the spine of my book. It's a little big, so lined up with either the top or the bottom. We're going to trim it off. So we're going to lay it flat. Sorry about the noise. And I'm going to grab this lovely inch and a wide packing tape. This is going to be fun to see. And I want to overlap it half on my acetate, half on this page of my journal. So I think I got that. Lining up clear stuff on clear stuff is always fun. Let's see. So now your acetate is like an extra page in your journal. So I'm going to trim off the bits that are hanging over the end of the sticky tape just for now. And we're going to trim off some of the acetate in just a second. And then I'm going to, so this is the front side of the acetate. We'll just put the tape down where my hand is sliding down here. We're going to flip it over and we're going to tape it on the back. Sorry, that makes an awful noise when I'm pulling tape off. Okay, I'm going to eyeball half and half, press it down, and we're going to trim off our sticky tape. Now our acetate is slightly bigger than we want it, so we are going to have to trim that as well. Let's get that tape out of the way. Let's grab some decent scissors, some Tim Holtz scissors, or really good craft scissors, not your fussy cutting ones. And what we're going to do is lay I had some more tape there still, just trimming up my tape. You're going to lay your sheet back over, and if you've lined it up correctly, you shouldn't have to cut any off this bottom edge. You should only have to cut some off the top. Well, cut it off wherever you've got it overlaying, actually. So what you're going to do is you're going to sort of pick up the page behind and then use that as a guide to follow and trim the acetate. This is probably about 3/4 of a centimetre coming off the height, so you're not trimming that much off. And we're going to see if we have to do any off the sides. You just don't want it sticking out of your book. Perfect. And then what you want to do is you want to, I know it's hard to see what I'm doing because it's clear plastic, so I've got a little bit to cut off up here. So I've got about 1/2 centimetre cut off this side bit. So you're using the page as a guide and almost can rest your scissors on the page and cut it off. Okay. So this is what we call tipping in acetate. So we've tipped in a page or added a page. I don't know where the word tip in comes from. See how it's... So we've got our girl here. We've got half our acetate on half of our page through our window. When we fold it over here, we can see half the acetate through here. Now you do have a choice. You can actually go and put a piece of tape down this side and tape it so this hole and this acetate is moving as one, which I might do because this journal is coming apart and it's really annoying me. So what I'm going to do is grab a piece of tape that's not as long, about 3/4 long. Try not to get fingerprints on your tape because they will show up. So you want to pick up your acetate and your page and fold it down. So that's optional. You just want to make sure it's not bubbly. So you want to have your acetate and your page quite flat. So you've got this page. This acetate is now attached, so it will fold over. And it shouldn't be too bubbly, be a little bubbly. And then, oh, that's your page over there. So it's going to gape a little when your book is sort of open. See how this is sort of gaping? This is the page and this is the acetate. You could stick it on all 4 sides if you wanted to. As your pages get turned in your book more, it will settle down. And I can see I've got a little bit of tape on the edge there, but that doesn't matter. Using the clear tape is probably the best way to stick the acetate on because otherwise you see anything. Okay, and now we have our white quote thing. And mine is not standing out as much as I'd like. What am I going to do? Am I going to paint it black and be really daring? Or, on my original I kept it white, but there was also a lot of darkness around here that made it stand out a bit more. It's not standing out as much as I'd like. So, will I be, but then it'll be too black over here. It'll be too black and too black. Okay. Do I put some more black behind it? I think we are going to go. So when you put your quote on, if your quote's not standing out, and to me that's not, it's getting lost, you have 2 options. You can paint it a colour, make it stand out. I was thinking about painting it black, but then I've got a big harsh black bit over here. I think that's going to be too black. So what I'm going to do is put some black paint behind my quote. So I'm going to sort of eyeball where my quote is. And everyone's paint, that's coming out quite a lot. We're going to try not to get black paint on our quote, but we're sort of just going to, where our quote's going to go, and this might have been not a good idea. Sometimes ideas sound good in my head, and then I do them, and they don't look like a good idea. So you find your quote might stand out enough. Mine's got too much paint on it. I'm just trying to do the size. I don't want to have too much black paint. I think that'll be a good size. And each journal, and everyone's going to do their journal slightly different. So you might find that your quote just looks perfect in white. You might want to paint a different colour. You might want to do this black background. It's up to you. Everyone's page is going to turn out slightly different. Now, be a bit careful near your plastic tape and near your acetate because you don't want to get too much heat over that way. We're just trying to dry this off. Lifting up this page will dry it a lot quicker. Just be careful with your hands underneath. It doesn't get too hot. You can see it's going from glossy to matte. It won't take that long. Come on. I can just see a couple more. It's quite hot. Just see a couple big black spots. Let's just give that a bit more dry. Drying from the back also helps as well. Okay. Now that should be all dry. Aha. Oh, doesn't that look better? Oh, I like that more than the original one. Isn't that terrible? I like how that stands out. I do like how that stands out. So it's up to you what you do with your quote. See what you think it needs. Now we're going to glue it on. And our page is done. So I hope you all had fun doing this graffiti style class. It's a really cool class just to let go. Not be too exact, too perfect. Just slap some paint down, some paper down, and bring it all together with some paint and stencils and stamping. And just have fun. That's what art journaling is all about. Having fun. It's probably way too much glue. I actually put way too much glue on stuff. But the glue, will dry clear. I always do that. I hit glue where I don't. Oh, don't do that. Really? Don't do that, ladies and gentlemen. Don't pick up a dirty baby wipe and then go to try to wipe some glue off. That's right. Easily fixed. White paint pen in a second. Go dry it off. So I'll take some photos of this one and put it at the end of the video so you can see the finished page. I'm just going to grab a white paint pen and fix up the grubbiness that I put on my letters. It's not a page without a grubby fingerprint or two. Well, it's not my page without a grubby fingerprint or two, is it? There we go. See? If I hadn't shown you that bit, you would have known. Okay, thank you very much for purchasing my class and watching the video. If you got any questions, don't hesitate to pop a question in the comments of this video. And I will get back to you. Really love how this looks. It's very hard to show it with the shiny acetate, but that is our first page and that is our second page. So the idea is you can see some of the quote through this page and some of her through the other page. So when you flip them over, it's sort of interactive. Thank you very much for purchasing our kit and playing along with my art journal page. And I'd love it if you shared your creations. If you do, share them on social media, tag Scrapbooking and then I can search that hashtag and I can see what you've been up to. Or if you want to message me a picture of your page, I'd love to see it too. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.